My name's Adele Onyango and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to episode 161 of Legally Clueless. Thanks for being part of the fam, for rocking with this podcast. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. Audio episodes go out every single Monday. And on our YouTube channel, we have our video series, 2 seasons out. Season 3 is loading. I'm super excited about that. And our tour series is freaking awesome. In fact, we just put out a new episode, part 2 of Legally Clueless in Dubai. It is amazing. I'm biased, but I'm telling the truth. I enjoyed doing so much in Dubai. This part 2 episode has a lot of activities in the sky, from like going on a glass slide 53 stories up on a skyscraper. So you're sliding on the side of the skyscraper. So when you look under you, around you, because it's glass, it's like you're sliding in midair. That was crazy. And I did that twice. Having dinner in the sky, which was freaking awesome. And of course, as usual, some amazing African stories. So go check it out on our YouTube channel. I think you'll really enjoy it, and we poured our hearts into it. So I think you'll connect with it. Do remember, you can join our Instagram community. We're at Legally Clueless Africa, also Legally Clueless Africa on TikTok. And if you want to chit chat about the podcast on Twitter, please use the hashtag Legally Clueless. In the show notes, there's links to all of our social... Sorry, I just hit my water bottle. There's links to our social media platforms, so you can check those out. All right, back to this episode. Really excited about the story you're going to hear, because the storyteller, first and foremost, when I met her, her energy is the best. Her name is Wanjira. She filled out the form, the storyteller form that's always in the show notes. We connected and I recorded her story that has everything to do with fertility issues. Listen to this.
I had just gotten my first very serious case of character development. I had met this guy. We were going to get married, or so he said. And this man just goes, "It's not you, it's me." And his space was 5 days, and he got engaged to his ex. One day, I'm just minding my business and I start feeling this pain on my right side, on my lower abdomen. He checks. He's like, "No, your appendix is fine." And he's like, "No, it's your ovary." And when they repeat the scan, they realize that the said cyst is now 3 times bigger than it was last month. It wasn't making sense. When I wake up, Dr. Paul comes and sees me and he tells me, "Madam, now you had pus in your right ovary and your right fallopian tube."
So a little later in the episode, you will hear Wanjira's story. But before we get to that, I'm really excited about this episode's song of the week, because I very randomly stumbled on this artist, I think on Instagram, and then fell in love with like 7 songs of hers. Her name is Mega. I have never heard of her before, but her music is it. Have you ever listened to a song and it's like describing exactly what you feel? You just didn't have the words before, and then you listen to the song randomly and you're like, that's it, that's what I'm feeling. That's what I felt. So the song that I want you to check out by Mega is called Be Good, Be Kind. I've put a link to it in the show notes. It's on YouTube. There's a music video for it that's absolutely beautiful. In case you're listening on a platform that doesn't have show notes, just look for Mega. The name of the song is Be Good, Be Kind. But check out her other music as well. It's awesome. So I actually was listening. Well, I stumbled on her music this weekend. I was away for the weekend at a really awesome destination in Nairobi. It was one of those like work, not work type of trips. I'm going to be sharing about this particular location. It's called Eden on my social media platforms at some point this week. If you are a creator of things, you definitely want to look out for that, or you're just looking for a place to recharge. I think I found my favorite corner of Nairobi. However, the first day I got there, I found this little corner in this vast garden they have, and it had this like old Swahili style day bed thing. And so I took my notebook because I really wanted to get a lot of writing done, and I figured if I'm detaching, perhaps I will get inspired. Anyway, so took my notebook, my phone, one phone and earphones, and I go to this corner to write. And obviously I'm excited because I've just discovered this new artist. I'm like, let me check out her other stuff, and I check out Be Good, Be Kind, and I write one of the lyrics down that embodies exactly what I feel. I think she goes, actually, you know what, I'm going to pull up the actual sentence. Where is my notebook? Oh, here it is. I wrote down one of the lyrics, which is, nobody knows how close I am to the edge. Seems like very normal English words arranged in a sentence, but I, in this moment, fully identify with those lyrics. And so I wrote them down as I was listening to the song, because I was just like, oh my goodness, this is... And as the song continues, she's talking about so many feelings that I've felt in the last couple of days, weeks, and month, which is, you know, like you feel like you're unraveling and you want somebody to just be good and be kind to you. Seriously, listen to the song. Anyway, so I'm writing, and it's like this one line is like opening the floodgates of both writing and tears. So I'm like furiously writing. I can't stop. My hand is just like going. And I'm crying, you know, and it's those type of tears or crying that your abdomen is like in pain and cramping, and my mind is racing and panicking, like, wait, is this a panic attack? And then it's just panicking about so many other things, and I'm just like crying. And I have my earphones on, I'm listening to this song, and the volume is all the way up, so I reduce it because this location I was at has the friendliest group of Maasais who are part of the staff there. And I was like, because it's getting dark, one of them might come and want to either bring me a light or guide me back to the room with a torch, and I don't want to like freak them out, so I reduced the volume because I can't stop crying. I'm like, okay, oh my god, what's going on? And I think, oh, should I get my other phone and like chat my therapist? But that requires me to walk back to the room, and I was just like, let's just go through this moment, whatever it is, it's some form of release. I think there's just been chaos and noise and fears around me, and it's just so much of that what I've wanted for a while is peace, because it's been consecutively heavy days for weeks. And I remember a particular week in March where I didn't think I'd make it past Wednesday, and I'd set my therapy session for Thursday, and I was so scared I would not see Wednesday that I would just... you know, because I was having such heavy dark thoughts that are saying that they are your gateway to peace. And I rationalize it, you know, it makes sense. Also because life in that moment, and even still now, is so noisy that life has lost sense. So these dark thoughts are like very calm in a very scary way, you know, because you're also asking yourself, like, what's the point of life? Like, why am I here? Well, what are we doing here? You know, just having those heavy thoughts consecutively every day, especially in March, sometimes every hour, and still having to show up for events that I'm moderating or I'm emceeing or I'm part of, or show up for work. Man, it's so exhausting. It's so numbing that when you have those dark thoughts, they are refreshing. I don't know if that makes sense. But I remember that week in March when I was just like, I don't see myself making it past Wednesday. I kind of, because of being in therapy for so long, know what I'm meant to do in that moment. So it's almost like I have two people in my head. You know, there's one that's like, oh shit, we need to execute the plan that always helps us with these type of thoughts. And it's obviously to reach out to my therapist, but also to have an accountability partner. And I'm so thankful that I have a best friend who gets it. I don't have to explain to so much. She just gets it. Val, obviously, she's been on the podcast before. I feel like I need to get her back on here. She hasn't been on here for a while, but also work and life, you know? Yeah. So she then became my accountability partner. That's what my therapist has called it in the past. And there's no judgment with her. There's no panic. And once I told her, she like called every single morning. I remember there was one morning that I didn't pick because I was just like so out of it. And she just kept calling. And when I picked, there was no like aggression, nothing. She just affirmed me being here, and that's really a powerful thing, a very powerful arc in our friendship. And because of how instrumental my therapist was for me, and still is, because These thoughts were just Friday and the crying, right? And it's just been a couple of days, so I'm still in it. Yeah, because of that, I, in the show notes, have also put a link to a Twitter thread or a Twitter resource where different people in Kenya shared a list of the therapists that they've had who are both affordable. Well, obviously that's relative, but they found them affordable and effective. I've put a link to that in the show notes, just in case you're looking for a therapist. Anyway, back to Friday. So I cried and cried and cried and wrote and wrote and wrote. And I wrote, so honestly, it was a tad bit refreshing. It was just release. And as much as it... This is a downer. As much as it's released, those thoughts are still there. So you release them and it's like, what? You're still here? You know, other than things that I'm currently doing with my therapist, I think, and my therapist likes saying, she's always like, a day at a time, a day at a time. Sometimes there are days it's like a minute at a time. And then I also try and find one thing every day to kind of fuel me. I remember there's this extremely dark day that the one thing was just how brilliantly blue the sky was. You know, and it's something so distanced. It's something so, not to say that, I don't want to belittle how wonderful nature is. And I remember being on phone with Val that particular morning and being like, oh, the sky is so beautiful. Have you seen it today? And that was my one thing for that day. So I try and find one thing every day. And there are days where I have to just find one thing every hour. and take it from there. I now have 2 accountability partners. I guess in this moment, I've moved away from like, I'm going to be okay to, I'm okay in this moment and that's enough for now. And the reason I picked this particular song of the week, it's not that it inspired my heavy breakdown on Friday, but honestly, as I was saying, going through all of this and showing up for work or whatever is super exhausting. I remember once thinking, wait, but if I'm showing up and this is what I'm feeling and what I'm navigating, chances are people in this room are going through it as well and showing up. So it makes it so much more important for us to be that kindness, be that good for the next person. It honestly could just be taking the time to have a conversation with someone or to compliment them on something or taking the time to really see someone. The smallest things are so affirming. Okay, whew. That was a lot. I wasn't even sure I was going to share all of this with you, but I thought, why not? Like, I've made the space to be safe enough for storytellers and guests to be vulnerable. Why not me? Let's jump into 100 African stories, shall we? I've always wanted to record a story that touches on fertility issues and challenges because it's one of those things that's not spoken about a lot, but so many people identify with this struggle. But at the same time, I don't craft the stories that you hear on Legally Clueless. Storytellers decide what stories they want to share, and that's part of the magic. So I was like, one day that story is gonna find me. And it did. Wanjira filled out the storyteller form. This is her story.
100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
So my name is Wanjira and I'm from Limuru, Kenya. My story starts in 2016, January of 2016. In 2015, December, I had just gotten my first very serious case of character development where I had met this guy. We had been together for around 11 months and we were going to get married, or so he said. And he insisted that he was about to leave for the UK and he wanted us to meet our parents, which I was very against because at the time I was just starting. I was, I think, in my second year of nursing school. And I just felt like talking to an African mother, like, hey, so there's this guy, you even haven't told your parents that you're having sex. So to start with, I found a man and we're getting married and I'm not done with school. That just wasn't aligning with what I wanted. But he was like, hey, I'm going to the UK. I really need to do this. I really need to meet your family before I go. And I was like, okay, if you insist. I was schooling in Mombasa at that time. So we travel all the way. We come to Nairobi and I'm supposed to go to Limuru and break the news. And he's supposed to stay with his brother in Nairobi. And then we're going to meet on Saturday. So on Friday, I'm just getting the phone. I'm calling the person and I'm like, hey, so what time do you guys want to get here? We've already got to the market. I'm Kikuyu, so we've done the peas and the potatoes. If you are Kikuyu, you know, if there's a ceremony, the chapatis, the peas, they have to come through. So we've done this shopping. And I'm just calling, so around what time? And this man just goes, it's not you, it's me. I need time to think about where my life will go. And I legit thought she was a prank. When it started, I was like, wait, you're joking, right? No, the man was serious. And his space was 5 days and he got engaged to his ex. So it was a time where like everything was happening. I'm like, what is happening? As ladies, you think I should have seen the red flags. What red flags? We had never fought, not one day. You insisted on this meetup. So, like, I was shocked, to say the least. And now it's January, so everything has happened in December. And also, my dad had died 2 years ago in December. Before that, I was in a rocky place, because my dad wasn't typically a dad. I grew up with a man who I knew birthed me but did nothing for me. I've been raised by my mom my whole life, and my dad has been the one to reap the fruits of your labor, in the sense of, if you're passing, then she's my daughter, and da 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 da. But you ask him, what class am I? What form am I? And nothing. And now I'm dealing with my dad. And now the man has decided, you know what, I'm out. I don't want to deal with this. Da, da, da. So I go back to school, because you have to go back to school, right? So in January, I was literally living the TID song. So for those who don't know, TID is a Tanzanian musician, and he has a song called Zeze. In the first verse of the song, he talks about the way he's not eating and the way he's not sleeping, and he just needs this person. Because this song came out when I was 12, I'm 20 then. At the time, I was like, who doesn't sleep because of a man? And who doesn't eat, my friend? I was TID. I was living his reality of not sleeping and not eating. And even if I didn't eat or sleep enough, what I did have, however, was a craving for clay. So pregnant women chew clay a lot, but for me, it wasn't like a pregnancy thing. It for me, being in coast, they were there freely. You didn't have to go into a supermarket. I think I just had like that picker, that attraction to just eat those things. And also, a time back, I had tried to look around family planning, and pills had really messed me up, and I really bled for a long time. And I think because of that low HB level, that's why I was chewing the clay. So I'd have like clay and a packet of milk almost every day. Then one day, I'm just minding my business, and I start feeling this pain on my right side, on my lower abdomen. And the first thing that hit me is that I have appendicitis. These stones have been out here chewing, eating. It's appendicitis. And what is so weird, that reality of me getting appendicitis didn't freak me out. I was like, oh, they can take it out. You can live without an appendix, so it's fine. So I really didn't think much of it. I was working in a hospital. I was in nursing school, so it's easier to get to like an imaging guy and be like, hey, you don't even need a doctor to see you. You're like, hey, sasa sini, let me lie here and you can check if I'm fine. So that is what happened. It wasn't like by the book kind of thing. He was my friend and was like, hey, I'm just having this weird pain on my right side. You just can't scan and tell me what's going on, because I was like, if it's an appendicitis, I can just schedule it. I don't have to pay again, because I work in a hospital, so I can just go get it out, done. And he checks. He's like, no, your appendix is fine. Okay, but I am legit feeling pain. And he's like, no, it's your ovary. Okay, what's up with the ovary? Oh, it just seems like you have a cyst, but it's not that big. It's small. It can resolve within some time. But to get yourself comfortable and everything, book a gyne clinic, go get checked out, everything will be okay. Okay, no problem. So I go make an appointment with my gyne. My gyne checks it out, checks the results of the scan, and he says, the cyst is very small. It doesn't need any intervention. It's fine. It's gonna resolve on its own. After I got the results, that is in January, the next 3 weeks were hell for me. I couldn't sleep. I used to have these mega fevers. I called my mom. And I was like, yeah, I know I told you, because my mom had told me, come to Nairobi, let me take you to a reasonable hospital. But I'm like, I'm in Malindi. I work in a hospital. What do I need to come all the way to Nairobi for? And I called her and I'm telling her, yeah, I think I have something, but I don't know what. Because if the scan is just showing a simple cyst, then it shouldn't be that big a deal. I get fevers, really bad fevers one day. And I knock on my neighbors. So my neighbors were my classmates and they were roommates, 3 guys. And I told them, take me to hospital. I'm really feeling bad today. In Malindi, where we used to live, because we are students and we're just trying to make it. And Malindi is predominantly a tourist destination. So houses are really expensive. So to save on costs, we used to live in the ghetto around Malindi. And in the ghetto, you have to be in the house like by 6 p.m. Because if you're there, you can get shot, you can get raped. It was a very dangerous place. Like, it wasn't a big deal to find dead people on the trenches. It was a very entertaining time of my life in Malindi. So I needed people, and they were men, and they were 3. Yay, take me to the hospital. Imagine we get to the hospital and I work here. They just don't know me because I'm a student, yeah? And this recipient nurse, and she goes like, I'm gonna say it in Swahili, and goes like, oh, kumbe ulikuwa kwa shughuli zako na wanaume watatu jioni, alafu imekauka ndo unakuja. So basically she was like, you have been sleeping around with these 3 men and something wrong has happened. That's why they're bringing you. Like, it wasn't even about an introduction that I'm feeling bad. It was like, oh, you just had to be doing something that was so filthy and all this. So even when I was explaining to her that this is what I'm feeling, she didn't believe anything I said. She's basically, oh, you campus students, you're here sleeping around with everybody, you probably have a UTI. And since I was young, I've never really been ashamed of mentioning private parts. If I have an issue with my vagina, I will tell the doctor, listen, this is where my problem is. I've never really been scared of saying this is where the problem is. So why would I have an UTI and tell you I have a pain in my abdomen? At the end of the night, they gave me a diagnosis of tonsils. Tonsils are up here. I don't even understand the relation. But they told me I had tonsils. They gave me antibiotics, which I didn't take. Because again, I came to you with pain. I know what tonsils feels like. Every child in Kenya knows how tonsils feels like. So at that moment, I told Ma, I think I might think about, coming to Nairobi. But I was still apprehensive. I was still going to wait it out. For me, I think that's a problem because I really don't rush into things. I wait until they're really bad. And one day, the really bad happened. I woke up and I couldn't feel my right leg. It was very numb. It wasn't completely dead, but when I stepped down, I could feel something was off. And I was like, yeah, I think it's time to go home. So I came to Nairobi with a night bus. I was so feverish. And I thank one of my good friends because she offered to bring me to Nairobi all the way from Malindi. She was like, nope, I have to make sure you're at least somewhere you don't faint on the road because my fevers were through the roof. So I get home. My mom takes me to hospital. And I go to this certain hospital. They repeat the scan. And when they repeat the scan, they realize that the said cyst is now 3 times bigger than it was last month. It wasn't making sense. Even if cysts do grow, the speed was not making sense. So I go there, they do some weird tests. And by weird, I mean every hole in your body gets poked and you're not ready for that. But you're in the mindset of you need help. So you're going to cooperate until you get help. And they go like, now, ma'am, we don't know what's going on. There's clearly something, but we don't know what. So you're going to go into theater. Okay. I had people go for surgeries and all, but now for me was not even the appendix story. This was beginning to be real for me. Because first of all, you're telling me you're going to do a procedure and you don't even know what is going on. So I go into theater. It was supposed to be open and shut, in and out, and we're done. They give me the half spinal So I was supposed to be awake during the whole thing. I wasn't awake for more than 3 minutes. I started vomiting. I started feeling everything. And they had to put me under. So when I get back, there's so many people speaking, they're saying things I'm not comprehending. I'm taken to the ward, I sleep, and then I wake up. When I wake up, Dr. Paul comes and sees me and he tells me, Madam, now you had pus in your right ovary and your right fallopian tube. And the abscess was so bad they had fused together. And he was talking about, now you're 22 now. I think it's best you start looking for kids and you see what will happen from there. I'm 22. I just got dumped like yesterday. Like it hasn't even sunk in. And you're telling me find a child. It was a conflicting time because the truth is I always knew that I wanted kids. I wasn't really afraid of the young and pregnant kind of thing. Okay, of course it wouldn't have been high school because, hey, I feared boys. A boy would talk to me in a funky zip. I would go blank. And it's so crazy because when people see me now, they can't imagine that I was that person. But I was those girls who are like, no, my books, talk to my hand, my books. I'm focusing on my books right now. But even then, I knew, like, if I go to campus, when I went into campus, I had the dream, I'm going to get myself a boyfriend. Because when you go to campus, that's what you do. You get yourself a boyfriend. But then I had not factored in the nonsense that comes with men and relationships and the myths and misconceptions around sex. When people would talk about their virginity stories, I couldn't relate because I was a virgin for a long time. Or relatively, because I lost my virginity when I was 20. And I went when I was 18, 19, and people would talk about these stories. And I even became the joke of my friends of, who are you waiting for? There's never a right person. So even how I lost my virginity was not because I felt, oh my God, I'm so in love with this person. I was like, am I going to really go into third year without having sex? So I just might, go through it. After I had sex with this guy, I came to realize that it was a bet. He had bet with his friends, and the fact that people had tried to talk to me in our class, and now he was a class behind me, and he comes over, he sleeps with me, and to add cherry on top of the cake, I'm a virgin. He got spoiled. I was like, okay, I think for me that one I wouldn't say heartbreak. It was more like embarrassment. My campus is really small. Everybody knows everybody. And to live with that realization that this man was chilling his whole weekend drinking alcohol on free on your vagina, and then you're like, no, I'm going to get a responsible man with work. And then the one with work dumps you a day before an introduction, he insisted. So I was really scared. And to tell me now that have kids, because even when I was there dealing with these two men at the time, I still felt like, if you're gonna leave me pregnant, it's fine. I've never really been afraid of being a single mom, mostly because I was raised by one. So I know you can be fine. Of course, there's more factors than that, but I knew that I was gonna be fine regardless. So I was in the bed, I was numb. I don't know where to start. You're telling me have kids. I'm alone, and they have to go with, where's your husband? So you can talk to him. I don't have one of those. A boyfriend? Nah, I don't have none of those either. A serious person? Refer to A. There's nobody. And at the time, I'm battling with God because I felt like whiny. I had grown up to be a standard girl. I had studied. I had waited till I was 20 to lose. And I knew some of my friends who had sex when they are 15 and they're out here going into abortion clinics. Why not them? Why me? I had just found out about family planning and the best things to do, safest things to use, and I haven't even dived into this life, and you're telling me, boom, you're sick. I remember just being very cold and numb during that hospital administration. It didn't help that it happened on the 12th of February. So the 14th got me in hospital. And on the 14th, the hospital I was at, they decided, it's Valentine's Day. And it's Sunday. So you don't need to have visiting hours. So splash. The ward where I was placed, they mix gyne cases and maternity cases. My neighbor on my right was a girl my age. She had just given birth to a boy, and her husband was happy and brought her so many flowers. She couldn't even find somewhere to sleep on her bed. Here I was. I don't have anybody to visit me because it's Sunday and my mom is a Christian woman, so she has to go to her chama and her what, and then she'll see you in the evening, Nobody got me chocolates. Nobody got me nothing. I, for a moment, hated my neighbor because I'm like, you brag with your happy marriage and your good kids and da, 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 da. And I just remember like closing the drapes and just crying because I felt like God had been so unfair to me. There were complications in that surgery, and an intern had been sent to do a procedure. He didn't inquire, and that mishap led me to lose stitches on my right side. So like I had to get stitches redone. That, let's not even talk about the pain and the torture that was, but I was like, it's fine. I had exams 2 weeks after that, and I was like, I was not going to defer my semester. I was going to put my titties up and I was gonna go do these exams. So I got discharged. 3 days after I was discharged, I was on a bus and I went to Mombasa and I did my exams and I was top of my class. Now, the months following the first surgery were hard for me. I had to continue reliving the fact that I was told find kids. How do you start? How do you sit across a guy in a date and you're like, oh, by the way, my doctor said, we should start like yesterday, before 25, because he said before 25. So like, we should start. How am I supposed to have that conversation? How am I even ready for that conversation? Because now I'm just like in third year, I'm almost getting done with school, almost getting that job and what we thought adulting was after campus and all these things. Also, I lost my friend because I thought she was my friend, and she decided to basically go tell people around that I was pregnant, and I went to a dingy place, tried to procure an abortion, and it backfired. It didn't work out. So I went to Nairobi to get my uterus out. So when I went back to school, people legit thought I didn't have a uterus. And then, it's stupid because we are medical students. We should know better, right? But now there's this whole stigma about like, oh, don't talk to her. She ain't got no uterus. Right now, looking back, it's so dumb because you guys are medical students. We should have known better. But even at some point, it got to my own head. Like, yeah, why will that guy talk to me, Because after that, I was like done with the whole guy thing. After campus, I came home and I talked. This is the first time I legit talked to my mom about my dating life. How was I going to start with I want kids? And my mom told me, achana nayo, let it go. When it's God's time, it will be God's time, and don't bother around it. And that just gave me clarity. And from that moment on, that was not something that bothered me. Being plus size is good because now the scar is hidden somewhere in your fupa. So most men, because these Nairobi men don't care to know about your anatomy, most men won't even notice the scar unless you mention it. So I was like, you know what, fine. And then when I crossed over to 25, certain aspects of childbirth started hitting me. When you get a child, that person is with you for the rest of your life. That person costs so much money, so much sacrifice. Oh, you want to go to that trip? You have kids. You want to do this. Like the aspects, the real actuality of getting kids dawned on me at 25. And I was like, you know what? I'm not in a hurry anymore. I don't even know. At that moment, it was like a switch for me. And I quickly went from, oh my God, kids right now, to I'm not even sure I want these kids. Maybe somewhere down the line, but not now. I just knew, not now. I found peace in that. And even when now the aunties, they start bothering you, like, why you gonna get your kids? It's not something that used to bother me. Dating Nairobi, kawaida, you just go through men who will teach you things. But for me, I usually don't have regrets. I look at my dating life as teachable moments. Honestly, I never really got too close to discussing the kids thing with most men I dated, because I just felt at the time, after the heartbreak, I dated a guy and we were together for some time. And for him, I was trying to implement the whole, I had gone from a rich, successful man. Maybe that's not what I need. Maybe I need somebody who's struggling like me. Then we grow up together. We go through the struggle. And we did. We went through the struggle. I told the man, you need to move from your parents' house. And he was like, my money is not good right now. And I'm like, I got you, boo. Don't worry about it. I'll pay your rent. Pay this man's rent for a couple of months. And then he finally gets his dream job. And he goes to the club and he drinks his money. Like, he drinks like 20 G's a day. Like, he will go out and then the M-Pesa message will be like 17 G's here and doing 11 G's there. I was like, yo, babe, we were supposed to talk about saving and strategy. Now the money is good. Let's do this thing. Let's save money. And he told me, don't tell me how to use my money. And after that, what was I doing there? I always wait until the relationship is mature enough for me to bring it up, as life would have it. I didn't have much luck with that. I changed my strategy. Number one, I would have all my men tested for HIV and for STIs. To go back, after my surgery, when I was going for my checkups, I asked, why did the pus thing come up? And they went like, you probably got gonorrhea or chlamydia. And I'm like, but I would have felt that. There are symptoms, right? People have, I don't know, weird foul smelling and da 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 da. I never felt that. I just remember the dismiss of my doctors, and they'll be like, oh, you're just a campus girl. You probably got it and you didn't know. How would I not know? It's my body. And from that point, it really affected my sexual experiences, because I'm like, what if this one now has the HIV? What if this one had da-da-da? So in my last situation, I think I just met him date one and I was out here giving him statistics. At the time now I was going back to school and I was pursuing oncology because I really wanted to take care of cancer patients. And I was like, after oncology, I'm just going to go to a sperm bank and I'm going to get my own kids. Because now having this conversation with men to get to a place where let's have kids was not getting there. I was just going to pay somebody's sperm. But now looking back, I realized that because of my trauma in relationships, it was some sort of defense mechanism. But I thought previously it was me being upfront and honest, but I realized that oversharing and that over just giving information was me telling you beforehand so that you don't get down the line and tell me, you know what, you didn't tell me this. But has that really rescued me from heartbreak and disappointment? No. So after that, my life really went on typically normally after I had accepted, you know what, kids whenever. So I went back to school. I got done doing oncology and I was so happy with myself. So I was like moving on up. Right now, getting to the money, and life started giving me shocks. I started feeling pain on my right side. And I called to my sister. My sister is my best friend. And I called my sister and I was like, I don't know if it's those drugs. Maybe my body is trying to like flush them out of my system. And she was like, do you think? We're not really saying big words there. We're like, do you think? And I'm like, see, we got done. So we went for surgery and everything. And nothing's up. We're fine. And she was like, you know what? You go to the hospital just for a checkup, just to be sure everything is okay. And I was like, I wasn't even going to book a big appointment. I don't know, big hospital. No, I was just going to go to these imaging centers and tell them this is what I did. And that is what happened. It's not even 3 minutes after he places that probe and he's like, oh, there's a cyst. Oh boy. I'm like, which side? And he says, right. And I'm like, how is the left side? It says left side is A-okay, left side is top notch. Okay, what's the size? Oh, nothing too big. Same story, really. We are living the same kayamba of last time. Okay, go book again an appointment. Same story. It's not big, ain't no thing, don't worry about it. I'm on medication, pain meds, just to help me move around and everything. And on the 3rd of January, we were coming home with my mom, and I tell her, hey, I think this period pains, because it was like a day before my periods. And I told my mom, this period pain, this time it's becoming hysterical. And she told me, you have the meds. Go home, take the meds. Sour. So I take the meds. Nothing. Try the hot water bottle thing. Nothing. So this pain started around 5 p.m. At 9 p.m. I was crawling on the ground. So we rushed to hospital at night. Get morphine shots done. Another scan. The scan this time says, oh, the cyst is hemorrhagic. It's bleeding. But don't worry about it, sweetheart. It's fine. You'll be fine. Just go home. Wait on it. So we started this thing at 2.5 centimeters. We are at 4 now. We are like, now what? Oh, no, you can't do anything surgical until it's maybe 5 centimeters going up. Okay, so next month, towards the end of January, the 28th of January, another scan. We are at 5.7. So, madam, we can wait. No, I'm not waiting again. I hate the thought of having to go to surgery again, but it's 2022, so yay, we can do this laparoscopic surgery, which you don't have to cut my parts. You just have to put in some probes and get it out. I just want it out. So as nature would have it, the 15th. You see, the other one was on 12th, the 15th of February. I got into theater, and we go through the whole, she insisted on the surgery, so they roll their eyes and everything, like it's such a small thing. Why will she insist? She would have waited. But I said what I said. I'm a patient with rights, and now I'm far too educated for you guys to bullshit me along the way. They tell me, gonna do this laparoscopic surgery, but if anything goes wrong, we're gonna have to cut you open. Okay, you said it's just a small cyst, right? So they put me under. When I wake up, I'm in pain, extreme pain. And I remember the first thing that I did is I touched my belly, and there was a whole line of bandaging. And I'm like, you cut me open. And doc said, yes. So meaning something was wrong. And in that moment, I kind of knew something's off. And we go back to the bed. Where's my doctor? I want to talk to my doctor. No, madam, you're in pain right now. No, I want to talk to my doctor. Oh, no, he's already left. Okay, the next day, where is my doctor? Oh, he left for a conference. But another doctor will come and see you for his place. Okay. This other doctor comes. Oh, madam, everything is okay. There was just kidogo problems, but you're fine. I'm like, no, tell me. This is what happened. No, you do this. You go home. Try for a child for a year. If it doesn't happen, come back. This song again. So I'm like, why did you have to cut me open? Why did you need to go laparoscopically? Oh, there was so much scar tissue that was happening. But if scar tissue was happening, it means that I still had an infection. But my blood work, everything else, nothing showed signs of infection. No, but madam, that is what, I'm not the one who did the surgery. So it's what he's saying. He said that there were adhesions in the uterus and around your ovaries. He removed the cyst. That was what was said. He removed the cyst. He's taken the cyst for a biopsy. Come after 2 weeks, you're gonna get your results. So my surgery has been done on a Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday, I'm told you're good to go home. These people never give me any antibiotics. Not in the surgery, not after, not even tablets to go home with. So they go like, oh, according to our protocol, we don't give our patients antibiotics, which is weird because you cut me open. There were dust particles, corona, like if for anything. But they're like, no, you're fine, go home. 1.5 weeks after I was discharged, I'm minding my business. There's this balcony place that I like sitting. I've given myself premium sunburns, but for some reason I still go back there. And when I was going back into the house, I just feel this gush. And I know something is wrong. And I look at my legs and there's this water. I just take some of it, smell it, foul smelling. I have an infection. My mom tells me, so what do we do? Do we go back to the hospital? And I told my mom, no. If you go back to that hospital, they're going to put me in a bed. I am a nurse. I've been a nurse since 2016, but nothing beats being in a hospital bed. It's mentally draining. You think about so much. The bed is uncomfortable. The shared toilets, and I was back in the same mixing maternity and gyne. Why do hospitals do that? These women in gyne are going through big things. They are going through miscarriages, and they are going through cancer and all these things. They do not need to see other people breastfeeding, and because you're like, why? This is just not a place that is comfortable. I don't understand, because even in these big hospitals, you go, that's what you'll find. That gyne cases and maternity cases are put together. That is the one thing, if I had authority, would immediately ban. Because they don't. The problem with our Kenyan hospitals is they do not factor in the psychology about hospitalization and illness and all these things. They just want you, oh, you're fine. Oh, madam, why are you still on the bed? Wake up and walk. You know, they do not go through what is going on in your head and what you're battling with. I get the infection. I tell my mom, because I know what I need, let's just go to a clinic. Let me just get some antibiotic shots. So, and that is what happened. Let me mention one thing I had forgotten to say is on the day of discharge, as my mom is coming to pick me up, I'm packing up my things, so my mom is going through the surgical notes, and she's like, yeah, right side, remove the cyst, oh, left side, problems noted, and I'm like, wait, go back. What did you just read? No, yeah, they say here on your left side, your fallopian tube is really inflamed and And I'm like, wait, give me the papers. Let me read them myself. And just like that, reality sank. Because this whole time, I know it's back on the right side. I was like, if the right side even wants to go ahead and die, I really don't care. You're the sick one. You're sick again. Okay, sawa. But now you're telling me my left side is also sick. Why didn't anybody tell me this? Why am I finding about it by myself? You should have told me. I'm back home. Reality is hitting now that it's true. I'm not even sure to this day that I want kids. But to have that option is what you need to know. Like, okay, I don't want them now, but if I want them when I'm 33, can I get? But now you're understanding now that it might not actually happen, because now they are talking about how my left side is so sick that it has created a space between my ovary and my fallopian tube. So like there's a gap. So that means that if an egg is released on my left side, it has nowhere to go. Why didn't anybody tell me this? So I am synthesizing that news, and boom, I have an infection. The infection was so bad, my stitches go, like 3 of them again. So again, I feel like I am reliving my 2016, only that this time I am aware. I sometimes miss the oblivion, how I didn't know things, how things were happening and why they were happening, but I found myself again. And we go to the hospital where I got my surgery done, and I'm like, I've already taken care of the infection, you just need to do the stitches. Oh, madam, no, we don't do the stitches, they'll heal on their own. So I have a hole, like when you see, you can see the skin and the fat and everything. I'm like, okay, so can I at least get my biopsy? You said you took a part of my cyst, you have results? And he goes like, oh, there's just an infection in your ovaries, or probably a gonorrhea or a chlamydia. This story again. Sir, listen, for the last 5 years, I haven't even gotten a little thing such as a UTI yeast infection. All my partners that I have had have been tested. I'm even annoying about it. That is why men think I'm a red flag. I'm out here being like, have you tested? Can I see? And he's like, no, you probably got it. That dismissal thing again. I'm going back to that dismissal thing again. So they give me antibiotics for gonorrhea, which they can't diagnose. And there, I take the biopsy results. Again, I have to read for myself. The tissues on my left ovary are dying, they're necrotizing, and features highly suggestive of TB. Was this discussed with me? No. So what do? I ask doctor of mine, and she's like, maybe you do like a skin test to see if you have TB. But I'm like, I've never gotten the typical symptoms, weight loss, night sweats, all these things. I've never gotten them. And she's like, I want you to go sit down and Google FGTB, so female genital urinary tuberculosis, and understand it. So find myself sitting down doing Dr. Google, which we tell our patients not to do. But I'm sitting there reading about this condition that is very silent in your body, is very asymptomatic, mostly affects Asian women. I'm an African woman. What am I doing with Asian problems? And they talk about how when you get FGTB, infertility. And that is the first time like it really hit me that oh my god, this is happening. And all those months of God, if you give me my period, all those flashbacks, they come back, and you remember the whole, oh my god, I hope I don't have kids. So I sit my mom down and I tell her, hey, so listen, there's a high chance I have TB. The medications for TB will run you down. Your eyes get yellow, you lose weight, you get a skin rash, really bad fever. I was so afraid of telling the one I'm intimate with. I know he's not my boyfriend, let's be honest. How am I supposed to tell him now? Like, how will he take it? Will he think it's some condition where I can spread it to him? Will he view me differently? Yes, we're not together or anything, but he's integral to my life. He's those people, even if the intimacy stops, I don't think he's a person I would diminish from my life. We've gone through so much together, so we have a good friendship base. How am I supposed to tell my friends? Like you think about things when it's just simply said and done. You think that it's something so easy, but if it's something that you're supposed to do for the next 6 months of your life, how am I supposed to face my friends when I'm darker, rushed out with yellow eyes? What's so crazy is that we went through these motions with my mom on a Friday. On a Tuesday, we get a phone call. Hey, it's Dr. So-and-so. You remember the one who told me everything is fine, cool. She's like, hi, you need to come back. And I told my mom, yeah, they're putting me on meds. And we go and sit, and she's like, yeah, so the truth is there's no test we can give you for the TB because of how rare your condition is. And it's sneaky because they're never like tests you can take. And when people think about the TB, they think about the coughing and the weight loss, and these are typically things that I didn't have. The math started mathing. That in 2016, when I got sick, that is what I had. That is what caused the pass. But nobody thought to check for TB. Everybody checked gonorrhea, chlamydia, that beautiful song that had been preached so many times. And she was like, I don't want to lie to you. The kid thing, the only way you know whether you can have or not have kids is when you try. But the truth is, you're telling me that my house is burning, but the kitchen is still alive. That's the thing. That's what you're telling me. Is that, you don't. When they start, listen, I'm a believer. But when people start putting God into diagnosis, just feel weird. Because when they start telling, we are the doctors, but God is the last. I'm a person of faith. But I'm also very factual. I'd rather tell me things are bad, but we can reconstruct, rather than you tell me, but no, there is still hope. Tell me the truth. I had already read about this thing enough times to know what I am supposed to be looking forward to. Now, the reality of IVF and maybe possible surrogacy and all these things. So you're overwhelmed. Okay, you're given these big tablets. TB tablets are the worst. They're like huge. Let me tell you, there's so many changes that have happened in HIV, and those people who take ARVs these days typically take a tablet or two. My friend, no. I stand as a person who has to pop 6 of those beautiful things in a day. The nausea, the itchiness. Sometimes the itchiness is so bad I have to like sit on the floor and I have to cut my nails. I can't do nails right now. I will itch and I will hurt my skin. And now you feel like you're overwhelmed. So a typical girl like me, what will I do? I will go online and I'll listen to stuff and I'll watch Engage Talks and people who relate to me. But every time you get on a YouTube video is like, oh, so I talked to my husband about it. So I talked to my boyfriend about it. Da, 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 da. I don't have that. I don't have that. I don't have that person that I can tell, like, this is what is happening. My story, my reality is hitting me before I meet someone. I know infertility rocks relationships, but the reality of infertility hits them in the marriage that we've been married. So maybe we should try and you rediscover. I'm not saying that their pain is less, but damn, it's easier when you're with someone presently there, because you have so many questions in your head now of how am I supposed to start this conversation. The truth is, even when I had been dating for people who I never really told people that I had fertility problems. However, in the questions you asked, I wanted to see how open is your mind. Are you in a position where you would want to adopt? Would you want to pay a surrogate? Like, is your mind open, or do you my seed and you knock your chest, because this cis men, they're just the most. Even if I had those conversations, the conversations for me right now have to be super real. And again, the only way, even in the books, to call you infertile is if you're trying. Who am I trying with? Even my said duvet, I'll call him a duvet for this purpose of this conversation. I don't want to have kids with him. Like, let's be honest. I don't want to have children by him. And even then, even if the sky looked weird and I decided I want kids by him, I would have to tell him my story. I'm 4 weeks in TB drugs right now, and I'm really proud of my body. So I take my drugs at 10. From 10 to 1, it's usually where the hell happens, where I have the fevers and where I have maybe a little bit of a rash and this, that. But when I wake up in the morning, my body is ready to face the day, and I'm very happy about that. I'm also happy that I am able to tell people. I thought it would be hard. I legit thought it would be really hard to tell people I have TB. But it's been okay. I was so afraid of so many things. I was so afraid of, how do you go to the clinic? Because the TB clinic is the HIV clinic. And as much as the stigma around it has reduced, it's definitely there. And when you go on Thursdays and you sit there and there are women crossing, they have to give you that eye of Usherati, young girls, because they think I'm there for ARVs. But nonetheless, there's still a lot of judgment that happens, and it being a place close to home, so mom will get those oh, we saw your daughter at the CCC taking drugs and da. It was hard the first few cycles of getting drugs, because you have to get the drugs every week so that they monitor how your body is taking them, and then from there it's every 2 weeks. So I just got to my 2-week mark, getting my drugs after 2 weeks. I'm yes, I'm so grateful for that. I'd like to say, number 1, doctors, believe your patients. And it's weird, because I'm a medical practitioner. People told me I had an STI that I have never had. So believe your patient. Even if maybe to you it doesn't make sense. Maybe it doesn't make sense because you're hey, if it's me, da 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 da. You know how when the Tinder swindler came out and people were hey, me, give a man money. Never, can never be me. Until you're the one giving money, you can't say anything. Number 2, friends should stop feeling weird about having their kids around you, because they're those people who feel no, I don't want any kids, I don't want to see any joy or things like that. And I understand, just ask your friend, ask the one who's going through infertility, are you okay with me having my kids around you? I'm having this party, but there are gonna be kids there. Are you okay with it? Just ask, because now you get one of two. You get those people now who do not invite you to things because there are kids there and you might feel some type of way. Then you get those people who annoy you with their reality of kids, in the sense of, hey, I really don't know what I would have done in your situation. Like me, the way my kid nags me, my kid just annoys me, and you're like, it's not about you though. Most importantly, ladies, don't ignore that thing. Don't ignore that feeling, that tingle, that, for me, I was one person who really didn't like to go to hospitals unless something was wrong. But now I feel like with everything that has happened, I have become a little bit of a hypochondriac, in the sense of something small will happen and I'm like, am I really sick? Is it really going to happen? And everything, like you start doubting yourself. So it is better to know and deal with it than not know. That perhaps may you've been afraid to go get it. That checkup that you've been ignoring, do it. But all in all, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. That's the truth. Maybe I'm here in tatters, or maybe I'm here in a different way than I thought I would be, but I'm here.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless.
I am so glad that I met Wanjira. Her energy, first and foremost, I think you could hear it in the story. It's really awesome. It's really refreshing. It's really lighthearted and just good vibes, That's one. And then I'm just so thankful she opened up, shared a story that so many people identify with. And I hadn't really thought about it from somebody who's single perspective, and that's taught me a lot. And also the bit when she talked about what people can do, in terms of just being mindful, inviting you for your events or get-togethers where they're going to be kids, etc. Just be mindful of the words that you use. It's a necessary story, and I know opening up like that is not the easiest of things. So I'm super excited that Wanjira did that. So if you too want to share your story on this podcast, we are knee deep in storytelling recording season. In fact, in a couple of hours, I'm going to record another story and meet one of you, because now that things around the pandemic have relaxed a bit, at least in Kenya, I can record stories in person, which is the part of this journey that I'd missed so much. So if you want to share your story as well, in the show notes, there is a link to a Google form. Just fill it out. If you're listening on a platform that doesn't have show notes, if you go to our Instagram page and click the link in bio, you'll see the Google form. Fill it in, hang tight, I will get back to you and we will record your story on this podcast. Another thing that's really dope is that we are on Trace Radio in Kenya, so you can go to traceradio.co.ke for a list of all the frequencies. You can tune in case you're on the road or in different spaces or places in Kenya, and catch the podcast there every Monday and Wednesday at 1 p.m. and 11 p.m. and Friday at 1 p.m. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel. Dubai Part 2 is out on our tour series, all about activities in the sky. Let me tell you, I went to Dubai with my fear of heights intact, and I came back with it completely abolished. Also, the stories we recorded were quite insightful about just the hustle, the difference between hustling in Kenya and then leaving Kenya to go and hustle in Dubai, and what that kind of looks like. So in part 2, the storyteller is a lady called Patricia, and her story is just so powerful and hilarious at some bits. When she talks about lying on her CV, I've just remembered it. It's However, this episode is over. I do thank you for listening to the very end, and I hope you have a really good week. I'm sending you grace. I'm sending you peace. And be good and be kind.
That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.